Most of what I do here on At Home with Music is basically teaching, but occasionally I like to weigh in on what's going on in the world of music. As I record this, the number one song on the country music charts is Luke Combs' cover version of a song from 1988, Fast Car, originally written and performed by Tracy Chapman. Now, there's been a bit of controversy surrounding this recording, but I'm going to ignore all of that and simply talk about it as a musical creation. There's a long history of artists, even those who are known primarily as songwriters, covering, that is, performing and recording their own versions of a song by another songwriter. I'm old enough to remember when Elton John released a cover version of the old Beatles song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. He also covered Pinball Wizard by Pete Townsend. The Beatles started out as a cover band. They learned their craft by learning and performing all different types of songs written by many, many different songwriters. I was also a cover artist, if you like. I was in a band for 12 years, as I've mentioned before, and of course we were primarily a cover band. Now, we had a few original songs that we'd throw into our program, but everything we did was a recognizable cover version of a well-known tune. I remember when the original version of Fast Car was released in 1988. It really stood out from everything else that was on the charts at the time. It had a compelling lyric that told a complete story. In fact, you could have taken that lyric and written it out as a novel. You could have used that lyric as the basis for a novel. And musically, the guitar part was very prominent and repetitive, but in a good way. It became mesmerizing. It stuck in your mind. This was one of those songs that you just couldn't really use as background music. You couldn't listen to this thing casually. You had to pay close attention. Just the way the song was written and arranged made you pay close attention to it because the lyrics were so compelling. They told a story. And you wanted to know what was coming next, and so you paid careful attention to that song. It was just one of those songs that you'd never get tired of. It just drew you in to the story. And Tracy Chapman's voice was very distinctive. I've always been drawn to low female voices. I'm a big fan of Karen Carpenter. And Tracy's voice was very unique. She was a contralto, if you like. All in all, it was hard to forget this song. But like many songs, you listen to so many songs and it tends to fade into the background of your memory. But when I read about Luke Combs' cover version, it brought the song back to my mind, and I was very curious to hear how he would do it. I wasn't sure how it would sound as a country song. Well, it turns out that his version was very faithful to the original. He even sang it in the same key. He didn't rewrite the words. You know, there's one line in the song where it talks about being a checkout girl. And he didn't change it to checkout boy or checkout clerk. His version was very faithful to the original. And I think he nailed it. I think he did a wonderful job covering this song. It was really a tribute to the power of the original version. Also, because Luke Combs is a very well-known country artist, his recordings served to introduce this song to a whole new generation who maybe had never heard the original. It just got me thinking about cover versions, cover tunes. I believe there are roughly two types of cover versions of songs. One type is where the performer takes the song and creates a whole new arrangement, maybe even changes a few of the words, maybe plays around with the tune a little bit. Still recognizable as the song, but they've put their own stamp on it. You know, that's the way Elton John did Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. It became a very recognizable Elton John song. And of course, the Beatles, their cover tunes were done in this way. They didn't try to copy the records, but they did copy some of the licks and so on, but they made it their own. Other cover tunes stick very closely to the original recording. I remember when Amy Grant did a cover version of The Things We Do for Love, which was originally written and recorded by the British band 10cc, and it was released as a single in 1976. I was a senior in high school. This song was covered by Amy Grant in 1996. It reached number 41 on the pop singles charts. It went to number 8 on the adult contemporary charts. In fact, it was ranked as the 96th biggest adult contemporary hit of 1996. Anyway, Amy Grant's version of The Things We Do for Love was an almost note for note copy of the original. And yeah, it was a fairly major hit, but it didn't make much of an impression on me because I preferred the original. Getting back to Luke Combs and his version of Fast Car, it's also very close to the original as far as the arrangement. You know, he kept that famous guitar riff and he kept the overall feel, sang it in the same key. Of course, his voice is totally different, but he sang it with great conviction and great feeling. The song obviously meant a lot to him. And in fact, he'd been performing it live. If I remember reading this right, he'd been performing it live for 6 years, at least 6 years prior to releasing this recording. Now, personally, I think this is a win for everybody. You know, Mr. Combs, he has a recognizable hit song that can only help further his career. And Tracy Chapman has definitely benefited from renewed interest in her work. Many folks have gone back and investigated the rest of her catalog. Many of her songs are getting renewed interest on the streaming services. Fast Car was not her only hit, of course. She had a few others at the time. And then she quietly faded from the limelight, although she still remains active in both music and activism. Now, to this day, she remains a very private individual. But I was quite pleased to find out that she approved of this cover version of her song. She was very happy to be on the country charts. I imagine that she never expected that to happen. Of course, being a practical musician, you know, the royalties that she's now earning from this renewed interest in her song, well, that certainly couldn't have hurt. You know, the old Nashville songwriters used to call that mailbox money. Well, of course, nowadays it's usually direct deposit. Yeah, I always like it when I see my royalties show up in our bank account. Anyway, I encourage you, check out Fast Car if you have never heard the song. Check out both versions. It's a great song, and its revival demonstrates the power of good music. So that's my take on Fast Car, both as a folk tune, as a pop hit, and now as a country hit. Thanks for watching. I encourage you to like and subscribe if you have not done so already. That really helps the channel. And I look forward to speaking to you in the next one.